recent years, the topic of how realistic should your fiction be has been a subject of great contention and has been discussed in mainstream media at length. You've heard the phrase, the message, in one form or another from both sides of the political spectrum. In fact, one of the YouTubers that has popularized this term, who goes by the Critical Drinker, has recently been on the Piers Morgan show. Him and Piers discussed the woke washing of media concord and how it has generally turned all forms of media into shit. Now, the Critical Drinker, as far as I know, only deals with movies and video games. However, the point still stands. Has the quote-unquote woke mind virus, as some people put it, ruined media? The people who add such elements to media contend that the movies and video games of old are outdated and need to be put aside for a new generation of media to take over that reflects the world we live in today. Well, to me, it seems like both sides of the aisle are just making the same argument most of the time, just flipped. I watched a lot of the drinker's content in order to make this video, and it seems to me like most of his critique revolves around realism. From the inconsistency of the story in Rings of Power and to the ridiculousness of the character of Galadriel, and other instances where the girl boss hero does whatever she wants because the script has to pander to quote-unquote woke audiences. To instances where certain races appear where they would have no business being, either geographically or because the original author / creator of the work specified a certain race for certain fictional people, which were then changed by the modern creators of the rework of the show. And to the drinker's credit, he's right about most of it. Many shows have been murdered by forcing diversity and inclusivity into the story. Inclusivity, by the way, which is not very inclusive of a certain group of people. Anyway, when you look at the other side of the fence, they seem to be using the same coin as our friend the drinker just flipped. They argue that because modern media is being made or remade in a modern world, it has to reflect the worldviews and ideas which the authors might have today, as did, I'm sure, the authors and creators of the show back in the day. They too make an argument for realism. Well, the first major caveat to that is, why bastardize some authors' work then? You should just create your own ideas and put your ideologies into them. Well, I am yet to find a satisfactory answer to that one, but if I had to guess, it would have something to do with correcting problematic ideas in older works while they profit from it. Well, all that to say that realism in media really is a topic of great debate. So what should be the criteria of realism and how should it be handled? Well, realism in fiction, to me at least, is fundamentally different than realism in real life, because the rules for real life and fiction are obviously different. For example, it wouldn't be realistic for a person to jump off the 27th story of a building and survive. But, say, if Superman jumps off the 27th story of a building and survives, no one bats an eye. Why? Because the rules have already been established. Superman is from another world. Gravity does not affect him the same as us normal humans. The creator of the show has painstakingly explained the story and how it affects the world and has established rules to the world. Now let's say that Superman starts being just really mean to people for no reason. A fact that wouldn't be entirely unbelievable in of itself, would still strike the viewer or reader as odd, because there's hundreds of pieces of media that have established Superman as a really nice guy. Now, the established rules of this fictional world can be changed, but never broken. And therein lies the power of fiction. In fiction, we get to define what reality is, but then to create a good story, we have to adhere to that reality. I am going to go through another example now, one I like a lot more, but if you haven't read through the golden arc of the Berserk manga, here's your spoiler warning. You should really go read it. It really is worth to read. When Griffith betrays the Band of the Hawk, it is one of the most powerful moments in the manga. He sacrifices everyone he's ever called a friend to selfishly achieve his own dream. He even rapes one of them in front of her lover. These are obviously despicable, cruel actions. There is no justification for any of them, despite what the mentally ill Griffith fans say. But Griffith has been one of the protagonists of the story so far, so how is it that this moment fits perfectly within the manga? Well, accomplished and nice as Griffith is, he's never been a morally righteous character. He's always been shown to use people other than the Band of the Hawk as pawns of his own game. He's been shown to be willing to do whatever it takes with very little care for his own or anyone else's safety. He gets the humanity tortured out of him for a year straight. And after that, the Griffith we meet is a shell of the great man that once was. Then he is given a choice. He can either give up on his dream, the one he worked his entire life to achieve, or cross the only line in the shifting sands of his moral compass he has ever drawn, and boy oh boy, does he cross that line and then some. Anyway, the point of this whole spiel is that this moment is wonderful because it's unbelievable, but it works because it's completely within the confines of reality that Kentaro Miura has established for his manga. For the reader reading through the manga, we never thought he would do it, but we always knew he could. Now, I want you to imagine a scenario with me, a scenario where Griffith is shown to be a morally righteous character who has love and sympathy for all. At the end of the Golden Arc, where he betrays everyone he's ever loved and everyone who's ever loved him, would you really believe it? It would still be shocking, sure, but would it feel the same? And to me, the answer is no. It will feel cheap and it will feel unearned, put there by a hack mangaka for pure shock value because the show lacks anything else. That's all it would be, but as it stands, it is regarded by many as one of the best moments in the history of fiction. All this yapping, dear viewer, to demonstrate the point that realism in fiction is crucial to the story. It can make or break your story. Now, coming back to the point of the video and whether putting quote-unquote woke ideas into media is a good thing. The conclusion, obviously, is that it's neither a good nor a bad thing. As long as the ideas are consistent with the rules set by the creator of the story, there is no problem. So while Arcane works beautifully, shows like Rings of Power and the new Star Wars series, oh my god, fail miserably. Not because they have woke ideas in them, because they have nothing else to offer. I guess you could even say that they're unrealistic. This has been Hatake, and I wish you a very good day. I'll see you next time.